I never thought I'd return to Grandpa Henry's farmhouse like this. Life has a strange way of pulling you back to places you thought you'd left behind, especially when someone you trust betrays you. It all started on a regular Saturday afternoon. I was sitting in my Colorado Springs office, just finishing a research report on water-saving methods for farms. That's when my phone buzzed. I almost didn't pick it up, but then I saw the name, Henry, my younger brother. We hadn't spoken much in the past few years. He was always busy with some new business idea, and I was always caught up in my work as a scientist. Still, something told me to answer. Henry's voice came through the phone, sounding far too calm and casual. "Hey, Kelly, just thought I'd let you know I sold the farm," he said like it was no big deal. I blinked, confused. "Wait, what? You sold the farm?" "Grandpa's farm." "Yeah," he said proudly. "Got $5 million for it." My heart dropped. That farmhouse wasn't just land and buildings. It was our childhood summers. It was Grandpa Henry's whole life's work. "You sold it without even telling me?" asked, trying to stay calm. Henry sighed, clearly annoyed. "Come on, Kelly. You haven't been there in years. You're too busy living your scientist life in Colorado Springs. The farm was just sitting there. I did what needed to be done." I clenched the phone tightly in my hand. "You had no right to sell it." He laughed, a cold, sharp laugh. "Actually, I did. Grandpa made me the executor. That means I get to make the decisions." I was speechless. My brain tried to process his words. Then I asked, "Where's the money?" There was a long pause. Then he said with a chuckle, "Well, I spent it." My whole body went cold. "What do you mean you spent it?" "Joyce needed it," he said. Her business was struggling. She had this amazing opportunity, and she needed cash quickly. So I helped her. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He had sold a $15 million property for just $5 million, and he spent every last cent on his girlfriend's business. I canceled my business trip right away and rushed home. I was burning with anger. I had no idea what I would say to him when I got there. But when I finally arrived, something unexpected happened. I smiled. You see, the farmhouse he sold wasn't the real family estate. Grandpa Henry was a clever man. Years ago, he had quietly bought more land and built a second, hidden property, one that only I knew about. The one Henry sold was just the older part. Henry thought he had ruined everything. But really, he had no idea what he had missed. It felt like I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened, and I could hardly believe what I had just heard. Henry had sold our grandfather's farm for half of what it was worth and used all the money on his girlfriend Joyce's business. "She needed it more than you," Henry said, trying to defend himself. I was shocked. "You sold our family's land. That place meant everything to us." Henry didn't seem to care. "Come on, Kelly. You've got your life all figured out. You've got a great job, your research projects, and your big career. You don't need that old farm like I do. What's the big deal?" I couldn't take it anymore. I hung up the call without saying another word. If I kept talking, I might have said something I'd regret. My hands were shaking with anger. Within an hour, I had booked the next flight to Los Angeles, California. On the flight, I couldn't stop thinking. My thoughts were spinning. How could Henry do something like this? I always knew he was careless and impulsive, but this wasn't just a bad decision. It felt like betrayal. Like he had stolen something that wasn't his to take. But the longer I sat with my thoughts, the more my anger turned into something stronger. Determination. Henry thought he could get away with this. He thought no one would question him. But he had forgotten something important. Grandpa Henry was a wise man. I had a feeling he saw this coming. When I reached the farm, my heart sank. The place looked abandoned and sad. Grass had grown wild, fences were falling apart, and the buildings looked worn down. Still, memories came rushing back. Early mornings feeding horses, the smell of fresh soil after it rained, and Grandpa's warm laugh from the porch. Now all of that was gone. Sold like it didn't matter. I needed answers, and I knew just who to ask. Douglas Adams, Grandpa Henry's lawyer for over 32 years. I met him the next morning in his San Diego office. He looked at me as I walked in, his sharp eyes calm but watchful. "I was wondering when you'd come," he said, motioning for me to sit.
I didn't waste time.
"Henry sold the farm without asking me. He says he had the right." Douglas sighed and tapped a thick folder on his desk.
Yes.
"I got the sale notice yesterday." "So that's it? He wins?" I asked, feeling helpless. Douglas gave a small smile. "Not necessarily. Did you ever read your grandfather's full estate documents?" I read the will. It left everything to both of us. Henry was named the executor. Douglas nodded. "That's true. But your grandfather was very cautious." He slid the folder toward me. 3 weeks before he passed, he filed a special amendment. I opened the file slowly. The first page caught my attention. Character clause. Douglas's face turned serious. Henry loved Henry, but didn't fully trust him. So, he added a rule. If either of you tries to sell the farm without the other's agreement, ownership automatically and permanently goes to the other person. My eyes widened. Henry had tried to cheat me, but he had just handed the farm over to me. I blinked, trying to take in what Douglas had just said. "Are you saying the farm is mine?" Douglas leaned back in his chair, calm and sure. "Yes, Kelly. The sale is void. Because of your grandfather's special clause, the farm now legally belongs to you." Relief and surprise washed over me at the same time. I could hardly believe it. All this time, I thought everything was lost. But now it was mine. "Henry doesn't know about this, does he?" I asked, almost whispering. Douglas shook his head. "No, and I suggest we don't tell him just yet. Not until we meet with him officially. Let's do this the right way, in a legal setting." I leaned back in my seat, still trying to understand everything. Grandpa Henry had known. He had seen the way Henry behaved, his selfish choices, his greed, and he had planned ahead to protect the farm. My hands curled into fists. "So, what happens now?" Douglas checked his watch. "Now, you prepare yourself. Once Henry finds out, he won't take it well. He'll try to fight it, and something tells me he'll make a scene." That evening, I drove back to the farmhouse. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the wild grass and empty fields. I stood there in silence, taking it all in. This land wasn't just dirt and buildings. It was my grandfather's life work. His love, his passion, everything he believed in. And Henry had tried to sell it all, for a quick payout and his girlfriend's failing business. I took out my phone. Tomorrow, Henry would find out the truth.
He thought he had won.
But he had no idea what was coming. The next morning, I woke up early. My mind was full of thoughts about what was about to happen. I knew Henry wouldn't handle it well. He had no clue that his so-called success was about to fall apart. By 9 a.m., I was sitting across from Douglas again in his office. Everything was set for a legal meeting. Henry and his lawyer were expected any minute. Douglas looked calm, like he had done this many times before. But I could tell. This case was personal. Henry showed up 20 minutes late, of course. He walked in with that same smug smile, wearing a fancy suit that he probably bought with the money he got from the farm sale. Joyce followed behind, looking bored and irritated. She didn't want to be there. His lawyer looked young, nervous, and clearly overwhelmed by it all. The moment Henry saw me, he smirked. "Wow, Kelly. Didn't think you'd care enough to show up." I didn't respond to the jab. I just pointed to the chair across from me. "Sit down, Henry." He dropped into the chair with a loud sigh. "Let's make this fast. I've got better things to do." Douglas ignored his rude tone and cleared his throat. "Henry, I believe you already know Kelly has serious concerns about the sale of your grandfather's farm." Henry rolled his eyes and leaned back. "We've already talked about this." But little did he know, everything was about to change. "I was the executor," Henry said, his voice full of pride. "I had every legal right to sell the farm." Douglas stayed calm and slowly slid a paper across the table. "Actually, you didn't." Henry frowned but picked up the paper anyway. As he read it, the proud look on his face disappeared. His smile faded, and his hands gripped the paper tighter. For the first time in years, I saw something I never expected from him. real fear. "Dubby, what is this?" he asked, his voice shaky, not confident anymore. Douglas rested his hands together and said, "That's the updated deed your grandfather filed just 3 weeks before he passed away. It has something called a character clause. It says if one grandchild tries to sell the farm without the other's agreement, the ownership will automatically go to the one who is left out." Henry's face went pale.
No.
"That's not possible." "Oh, but it is," I said firmly. "The moment you signed the deal to sell the farm, you gave up your rights. The farm belongs to me now." Henry slammed the paper on the table. "This is a setup. Grandpa wouldn't do this to me." Douglas stayed calm and said, "Henry, Carter knew both of you well. He trusted Kelly to protect the farm. And he knew you might act selfishly. So yes, he prepared for this." Henry quickly turned to his young lawyer. "Do something." The lawyer shifted in his seat, looking nervous. "Legally, the updated document is valid. The sale doesn't count anymore." Joyce, sitting beside Henry, crossed her arms and said sharply, "So what now? The money's gone. We already spent it." "That's not my problem," I said coldly. Henry's face turned red with anger. He stood up fast, pushing his chair back. "You can't just take everything from me." I stared him in the eye. "I didn't take it from you. You gave it away." The room fell silent. The truth had hit him hard. He had lost everything. Douglas quietly slid another document forward. "There's one more thing. As the executor of the estate, you were supposed to protect your grandfather's wishes. But by selling the farm without Kelly's agreement, you broke those duties." He tapped the document. "As of right now, you're no longer the executor." Henry looked at the paper like it was the end of the world. "You're joking." "No," I said, leaning closer. "I'm in charge now." Suddenly, Joyce stood up and grabbed Henry's arm. "Henry, we need to go." But Henry didn't move. He just kept staring at the document, frozen in place, finally realizing he had lost it all. I could tell what was going on in Henry's mind. He had lost it all, the farm, the money, and the control he thought he had. But Douglas wasn't finished yet. He picked up one more file from the table. "There's one last thing," Douglas said. "Since the sale of the farm is invalid, that means you have to pay back all the money you received from it." Henry swallowed hard. I don't have the money." I leaned back in my chair and looked straight at him. "Then we have a big problem, don't we?" Joyce, clearly angry now, pulled on Henry's arm again. "Henry, let's go." They started walking toward the door, but before they could leave, Douglas spoke again. "Oh, and Henry," he added. Henry stopped and turned around slowly, his shoulders stiff. "If you try to fight this in court," Douglas said in a calm but serious voice, "we'll have to do a full audit of the estate. That means we'll check every single thing you've done with the money since you became executor." Henry's jaw tightened. He understood exactly what that meant. Every shady deal, every dollar he secretly gave to Joyce's failing business, it would all come to light. He didn't say a word. He just stormed out, his face red with frustration. Joyce followed behind, her heels clicking loudly on the floor. As the door shut behind them, I finally let out a long breath. It was over, or at least I thought it was. That night, I sat on Grandfather Henry's old porch, staring out at the land under the cool California night. The air was still, and everything was quiet. I should have felt peace, maybe even joy, but I didn't. Something didn't feel right. Henry was careless, yes, but not dumb. He had to know this could happen. He had to know Grandpa might have left something in place to stop him. So, why did he go through with it? Why was he in such a hurry? Then my phone buzzed. A message from Henry. "We need to talk." I stared at the text, my stomach twisting. This wasn't over. I looked at the message for a long time. A part of me wanted to ignore it. I had already won. The farm was legally mine. Henry had lost everything. But I knew my brother too well. He never walked away without a backup plan. Finally, I replied, "Meet me at the farmhouse. 1 hour." By the time I got there, the sky was dark, and the air smelled like rain was coming. The fences were still broken, the land still messy and overgrown. The farm had been left alone for too long. Henry arrived 10 minutes late. His SUV headlights cut through the shadows. He stepped out slowly. He looked different, tired, maybe even worried. Joyce wasn't with him. This time it was just us. He kept his hands in his pockets and avoided my eyes. You got what you wanted. I leaned on the porch railing. Did I? Henry gave a short, bitter laugh. Don't start with a speech, Kelly. You think you're the hero here? He waved his hand toward the land. You left. You had your big career, your research, your perfect life. I was the one who stayed, Henry said quietly. I was the one who took care of everything. I looked at him carefully, not angry, just tired of the lies. You didn't take care of anything, Henry. You sold Grandpa's farm just to get some quick cash. Then you spent the money like it meant nothing. His jaw tightened. I was trying to build something. I crossed my arms. And where is it now? He didn't answer. And that silence told me everything I needed to know. Something in my stomach twisted. I could feel something deeper was going on. Henry, this isn't just about the farm, is it? He looked away, eyes moving quickly, like he didn't want to meet mine. And for the first time in years, I saw something real, fear. I stepped closer. How bad is it? Henry ran a hand through his hair, clearly stressed. I borrowed money from Grandpa's other accounts. My heart dropped. What did you say? He let out a shaky breath. The tax accounts, the maintenance funds, the savings, everything. I took money from all of it. I thought I could pay it back before anyone noticed. His voice started to shake. But the investment failed. The developer went bankrupt. And now, he let out a weak, broken laugh. Now it's all gone. I felt sick to my stomach. I could barely speak. How much? His voice was barely a whisper. $750,000. The world felt like it was spinning. I pressed my fingers to my forehead, trying to stay calm, trying to think. So that's why you were so desperate to sell the farm. Henry nodded, eyes full of regret. I thought I could fix everything before anyone found out. I closed my eyes. And Joyce. He gave a cold, bitter laugh.
She left.
Took what little money was left and ran the second she realized I had nothing more to give. A long silence followed. I should have walked away. I should have told Henry this was his problem to fix. But then I thought of Grandpa Henry, how he always believed in giving people second chances. And even after everything, Henry was still my brother. I pulled out my phone and called Douglas. He picked up on the second ring. I need to see you, I said. Right now. An hour later, Henry and I sat in Douglas's office. Douglas, always calm, didn't even look surprised when I told him everything. He just opened a drawer and pulled out a thick folder. Your grandfather knew something like this could happen, Douglas said, sliding the file toward me. So, he made a plan. I flipped through the pages, my heart beating fast. Inside the file were insurance papers, safety plans, and legal documents, things Grandpa Henry had put in place a long time ago, before he passed away. Douglas tapped one of the documents. This is an insurance policy that covers mistakes made with the estate's money. If we use it, it can help recover up to $900,000. Henry let out a breath like someone had hit him in the stomach. So, we're saved. Douglas's eyes narrowed.
Not exactly.
There are rules. Henry tensed. Of course there are. Douglas leaned forward. First, you must sign a paper saying you admit to misusing the estate's money. You have to officially take responsibility. Henry's body stiffened. And if I don't? Douglas's face stayed serious. Then Kelly will have no choice but to take legal action against you. That would lead to a full check of all the estate's money records. He paused, then added, and with the proof we have, it's very possible you could be charged with fraud. Henry's face went pale. Fraud? Yes, Douglas said calmly. And that could mean jail time. Henry's hand shook as he rubbed his face. What else? Douglas folded his hands. You'll have to attend financial counseling, and you'll pay for it yourself. Also, you won't be allowed to be involved with the estate ever again. Henry looked at me, his voice softer now. And you're okay with all this? I looked him in the eye. I don't want to see you in jail, Henry. But I won't cover up what you did. You have to face the results of your choices. For a moment, he didn't move. Then slowly, he nodded. Okay. Douglas pushed the paper across the table. Henry picked up the pen with shaking hands and signed it. And just like that, it was done. Outside, the night was quiet. We stood by Henry's car, looking at the lights of the city in the distance. He stared at the skyline and said softly, I don't know what to do now. I waited before answering. You start over. Henry gave a weak laugh.
How?
I looked at him closely. He was still the brother I had grown up with, the one who had lost his way chasing the wrong dreams. The farm still needs work, I said after a moment. You could help.
He turned to me surprised.
You'd let me? I nodded. You're still my brother, Henry. But this isn't about money anymore. If you want a second chance, you'll have to earn it. He didn't answer right away, but after a long pause, he nodded. Maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late to fix what had been broken. The days after that meeting with Douglas were heavy. The air felt thick with silence, and both of us carried the weight of everything that had happened. I had spent so many years being angry at Henry. I truly believed he would never change. So seeing him now, quiet, unsure, and no longer acting like he knew everything, felt strange. We stood together on Grandpa Henry's farm, looking at the tall weeds, broken fences, and the old house that once used to be full of life. I hardly recognize it, Henry said softly. I glanced at him. Well, that's what happens when someone tries to sell a place instead of taking care of it. Henry let out a deep sigh, but didn't say anything back. He wasn't arguing anymore. For the first time in a long while, I saw something new in him change. Over the next week, we worked side by side. We cleared out the old barn, fixed broken fences, and looked at all the damage caused by years of being ignored. Henry wasn't used to this kind of work. At first, he struggled. He wasn't strong with tools or farm work. But he came back every morning, and what surprised me most, he never complained. One evening, after a long day of fixing the porch steps, I found Henry sitting quietly on the front steps of the house. The sun was setting, and the golden light made the fields glow. It was the same view Grandpa used to sit and enjoy every evening. I used to hate this place, Henry said, his voice quiet and unsure. I thought it was holding me back. I thought it reminded me of everything I didn't want to be. I sat down beside him, wiping the sweat off my forehead. And now? He was silent for a while. Then he sighed. Now. I think I understand. Grandpa wasn't trying to trap us. He was trying to give us something that mattered. I nodded, watching the wind blow through the tall grass. He was always thinking 5 steps ahead. Henry gave a small chuckle, but it wasn't really a happy one. Yeah, and I never thought further than the next dollar. The next few months became a routine of hard work and quiet change. Henry kept showing up. I didn't think he would last, but he proved me wrong. I expected him to quit or walk away the moment things got hard. But he stayed. He learned how to repair farm tools, how to plant crops properly, and how to care for the land, just like Grandpa had always done. And slowly, I realized he wasn't just doing this to fix things between us.
He was doing it for himself, too.
One afternoon, we stood inside the cleaned-up barn. The smell of fresh hay filled the air. Henry wiped his hands on his jeans and looked around. It actually looks like a real farm again, he said. That's because it is, I replied. He took a deep breath and nodded. Yeah, it feels different now. I looked at Henry closely. You seem different. He paused, then gave a small nod. Yeah. For the first time, I believed him. 1 year after everything had gone wrong, we held a small ceremony to honor Grandpa Henry. We invited neighbors, old friends, and the few people in town who had known him well. Henry stood beside me as we revealed a memorial plaque near the farmhouse. The plaque had simple words written on it. Henry Carter, a man who built more than land. As the sun set over the farm, I realized something important. Grandpa had planned all of this. Not just the farm, not just the money, but us. He knew that Henry and I would never truly understand each other unless something forced us to work together. He had added rules and safety nets, knowing Henry's weaknesses, but he hadn't given up on him. Instead, he left a way for Henry to change. And, in the end, Henry had taken that chance. Later that night, when everyone had gone home, I found Henry sitting on the porch, looking up at the stars. "Still thinking about going back to Los Angeles?" I asked. He gave a small smirk.
Nah.
"Turns out, I like the quiet." I sat beside him, the cool night air wrapping around us. Everything felt peaceful. After a while, Henry asked, "Do you think Grandpa knew this would happen?" I thought about it for a moment before replying.
Yeah.
"I think he knew exactly what he was doing." Henry let out a quiet sigh and smiled a little. "Yeah, me too." And for the first time in a very long time, we sat there, not as enemies, not as people fighting over the past, but as family,